Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I have my special friend, I always say that's one of my favorite people. I think they're all my favorite people, but Margana Wood was Miss Texas 2017. She was Miss Texas Outstanding Teen in 2012. She is currently doing her, I guess you could say, dream job, working in event planning for a company that she really enjoys. We catch up with her, learn a little bit more about her. I can't wait for you to get to know her. Welcome, Margana. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much, Heather. I'm so excited to be here.
So first thing I want to know is actually I kind of want you to introduce yourself to everyone. So just a little bit about you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Margana Wood. I was Miss Texas 2017, and also I was Miss Texas Outstanding Teen in 2012. We've since had some name changes to the teen title. So I've competed in both the teen and the Miss program of the Miss America organization. I now live in Austin, Texas, and I work as the director of events and membership for an organization called Built. We are a private membership-based organization that I plan networking experiences for professionals in the building industry. It's very niche. It's very different than what I thought I was going to be doing, but I love my job. And I've been in this role for 3.5 years. We're coming up on the 4-year anniversary of me working for Built. And yeah, that's the very quick 20-second elevator pitch of what I do and who I am.
I like it. I like it a lot. So tell me, we met when you won teen. You won
Yes.
Miss Texas Outstanding Teen. And my daughter was already signed up to be a national princess. So the way this works is the national princesses go with the state title holder to Miss America's Outstanding Teen. At the time, this was a thing. And for the princess camp or experience or whatever they would call it. And I knew a lot of people in the Miss Texas organization, but I did not know Margana. So when you won, I was really interested. I was like, oh, who is this girl who's going to be like mentoring my kid in Orlando? And
is she cool? Is she nice?
How's this going to go?
A good role model.
And my favorite Margana moment, honestly, was when I was speaking they had this teens in training camp there in Orlando, and I got to speak to the contestants. And you had like 7 princesses, and some states didn't have a princess who was able to go. So some girls needed to borrow a princess. And I was like, yeah, my daughter's with Texas, but if I want to borrow her, it's fine. You were like, no, she's mine.
She's mine.
I don't think you said it rude or anything, but you were like claiming my kid. And now, like, every time we see you,
I don't even remember that.
Oh, you did. You're like, I'm not sharing her. It was very you were not.
Well, here's the thing. We bonded very quick and very fast. So yeah, I was very mama bear, very territorial. I can see how that played out. I don't remember it, but I can very easily see how that played out.
There were like these experiences that the girls would do with the princesses, and you had like one princess you got to do some of these things with. And but it was the best thing ever. And now every time y'all see each other, you have to do a picture, and it's just, I have so many pictures of y'all together. It's really cute. So
I know.
Anyway, one of the questions I ask everyone is, how do you define winning?
That's actually such an interesting question, because I think that answer has evolved a lot for me over the years. Obviously, the idea and definition of winning when you're competing for Miss Texas or Miss Texas Teen, that looks a lot different. But now, as a professional in the real world, I think that, and being an adult in the real world, your mindset, because I'm not a competitor anymore, it's changed a lot. But I think what remains true, regardless of whether or not you're competing or not, is feeling good about the choices that you've made to get to where you are today. When I was competing, and I think where my mind goes immediately is the year that I won Miss Texas. I was first runner-up to Miss Texas 2016, Caroline Carruthers, the year before. Mm-hmm. And so there was this immense amount of pressure that anyone would put on themselves, being first runner-up and then going back and competing the next year. You really only have one place to go. There's no other options. You're either the winner, and that's the step that you take, or from outside looking in, the optics of it are you're stagnant because you placed in the same placement. You were first runner up again. Or perhaps even you drop in placement. You are second or a third or fourth runner up, or maybe you don't even make the 5 or even finals. And so then, you know, the optics outside looking in is, oh, she's lost her it factor. And then, so for me, there was this immense amount of pressure that I put on myself about this idea of winning Miss Texas. And I know that that was something that you and I had worked on so much leading up to that point. I think the experience of working in the teen program, it's very different. It's not as much pressure. But you and I had worked so much about how can I feel good about the choices that I make and my preparation and competing, regardless of whether or not I win, regardless of my placement. And there were little things that I did, because as first runner up, I didn't want to come back and feel like I had overtrained or that I'd become a different person than who I was and who I wanted to be. So I made really, really small changes, like changing my talent. Historically, I've been a lyrical and contemporary dancer. And, you know, I made the choice for myself, you know what, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and I'm going to do something different. And I did jazz. And it's something so small. But it was something that I could go back and say to myself, you know what, I'm really proud of that choice that I made, because it not only allowed me to evolve as a competitor, but it allowed me to evolve as a person and prove to myself, I am more than what people see on paper. I'm more than the 10 minutes that people get to see me on stage. I work hard, I try new things, and I learn new things. So that was a huge thing that I think you and I as a team overcame, was making sure that I felt good about the choices that I made leading up to competition week, so that when it came, regardless of whether or not I took home the crown, I could feel good about that experience. And now, as a woman who's not competing, and as a professional, I think that still runs true. You know, I think following your gut instinct and your intuition definitely defines a winner, because you can always go back. Maybe it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to. Maybe you didn't get the promotion. Maybe you didn't accomplish a goal that you had set forth for yourself. But you know what? I followed my gut instinct. It felt right at the time. I made an educated choice, and that's what I did. And I'm proud of that decision.
So can you pinpoint a defining moment in your life that made an impact on you?
Other than Miss America? I feel like that's the highlight of every girl in pageants careers. But I mean, I think as I look back on like my experience competing where I am now, I would say a defining moment for me would actually be the day that I gave up my title as Miss Texas. Because I didn't really know what I wanted to do yet. And so the world was my oyster, and I had all these opportunities in front of me, and it was my opportunity to sink or swim. I used Miss Texas, my year as Miss Texas, as a launch pad, as a jumping off point to launch my career. I had acquired all this scholarship money, and I took it and I moved abroad to a city I'd never even been to. I moved to London for a year, never having visited, not knowing a single soul there. I got my master's degree while there in event design and management, and that's of course what I'm doing now. And that was a really transformative point in my life. So I think the day that I gave up my crown as Miss Texas was such a defining moment for me, because, you know, you just fake it till you make it. And I feel like from where I am now, I feel like I'm at a really good point in my career. I feel really good in my career right now. So I feel like I've taken all the right steps. I'm proud of the choices that I've made to get here. I feel like I've been on the right path.
How hard was it to get on that plane?
It was hard. You know what, Heather? It was actually harder like telling people that I was doing it.
Why?
Like announcing to the world that I was doing it because like that, like in the age of social media, that's what makes it real.
Mm-hmm. Right. When you actually
Like
admit it out loud online.
yeah, it's not like submitting the application. It's not receiving the acceptance into the program. It was, announcing to the world, okay, it's really happening. Like I'm doing this. There's no turning back now because I've told everyone that I'm doing it.
And
It was almost like an accountability thing. So by the time that I had stepped on the plane, I'd mentally and emotionally prepared myself enough for it
mm-hmm.
that I was honestly just so excited.
Wasn't it a specific scholarship that you got that led
It
to
actually,
wanting to go?
it's funny that you mentioned that. So during my year as Miss Texas, winning Miss Texas, I won, I think, $23,000 being
Mm-hmm.
the winner of the title. And then when I went on to Miss America and I was fourth runner-up at Miss America, I won an additional $13,000. So, adding all that up, I'd already received a very large amount of money, and my tuition for my program didn't even I had used all of my Miss Texas funds. I didn't even ever touch my Miss America scholarship because of the amount of scholarship that I received from the Miss Texas organization. And the rule is you have to exhaust your Miss Texas, your state
Mm-hmm.
scholarship before you can use your national scholarship. And then during my year as Miss Texas, I spoke at a Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club has an international scholarship. And they were really impressed by what I had to say. And I had mentioned in my speech, it's a dream of mine to live abroad. And so they had offered me the international scholarship of $25,000, which again, I never ended up needing because of the Miss Texas organization and all the scholastic opportunities that were offered me through the state program. So I did receive quite a lot of scholarship, but my tuition at University of Westminster in London, I ended up not needing it.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So kudos to the Miss Texas Scholarship Foundation.
I remember having a conversation with you before giving up your title of what am I going to do next? It's a really good conversation to have. So basically what happens is I sponsor Miss Texas, so I'm basically available for whatever reason for the girls.
So, I mean, you served as my therapist for many years, Heather.
And I'm not actually a therapist, but yeah, we had a lot of conversations, and I even talked to your mom a lot too, because it's just one of those things where if I can help and be of service, I think I want to do that. But I remember that's one of the things that's so difficult, I think, for women who are in pageantry is when you've been kind of defined as a pageant girl or as a title holder, and to have a role like Miss Texas where it's a full-time job. For people who don't know, who are watching this, and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. The Miss Texas in the America system is a full-time paid position, and you pretty much don't do anything else. I mean, I think they have a little bit of leniency now where you can go back to school and things like that. But when you were Miss Texas, it was your full-time gig. Like every single day was another appearance as Miss Texas. So you are Miss Texas 100%, 365 days a year. And then all of a sudden, you're back to being Margana. And sometimes that can be hard. So I mean, obviously you had something real excited to go look forward to. So that was helpful. Did you ever deal with the dip of giving up your title, or was it like, no, I'm so excited for what's next?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm sure I did. And I felt that way even graduating from University of Texas even. I studied, my undergrad was corporate communications. And while I loved my degree and while I loved my time at UT, frankly, I graduated not knowing what I wanted to do professionally. And so, I went into competition week for Miss Texas knowing if I don't win Miss Texas this year, that's going to be a huge defining moment for me as well, because I'm then going to have to go out into the real world and figure it out. And thankfully I did win Miss Texas, and that year did help me slowly figure out things that I wanted to pursue. Career-wise, I was attending events left and right. I was going to galas. I was speaking at Rotary clubs. I was going to proms as a special guest. I was attending all these different kinds of events. And it really made me miss working in events. I worked part-time in the events industry doing weddings while a student at UT. And it really made me miss working in the events industry. And so that helped me decide, what, maybe I should use all this scholarship money that I've earned to pursue this further, to help me acquire skill sets and knowledge and a better understanding of this industry. And so, as I continued on during my year and those questions, what's next, that always comes pretty much immediately after Miss America. And Miss America was very early on in my year. I was crowned at the end of June, and Miss America was in September. And so after Miss America, I still have 8 months left pretty much. And people are like, well, so what's next for you? And I'm like, I just got in this job. But anyways, those questions are actually really helpful because it requires you to constantly be thinking, what is next for me? And kind of going back to what I said before about, following my gut instinct about a lot of things. There were things that I knew about myself when I became Miss Texas, leading up to becoming Miss Texas, throughout my year as Miss Texas, that I'm a really good communicator. That was always a key message for me. Like, I'm a communicator. I'm good at connecting with people. And what better way to connect with people than helping them bring to fruition special days and milestones in their life? And so for me, that was a really good marriage between those two attributes, missing the events industry, being a good communicator, and marrying the two. It guided me on the path of wanting to pursue events as a career. So while I didn't know exactly how I was going to actually accomplish that, there were people in my life, family, friends, mentors like yourself, the board of directors of the Miss Texas organization that sat down and had conversations with me. Valerie Bell, for one, she and I had many conversations about what is next for me and connections that she could make for me. Miss Texas is a year of networking, and she always says that it's an internship for life, and you build so many skills while in that role, but using it as a platform for your next step beyond the crown it's mindful practice that we all should be doing as competitors. And I think a lot of girls are so focused and tunnel vision on competition week and becoming Miss Texas that they're not thinking about how can Miss Texas actually help my career 10, 20 years down the line. So conversations with folks helped me step in the right direction. And that was a whole part of like growing up as Miss Texas too. There's a lot of growing up in that role as well.
So you were top 8 at Miss America 2018.
Yes.
You were top 5 at Miss America. What's the secret to success in pageant land?
Ooh,
and save the good stuff for Patreon, but give us a taste.
I'm such a firm believer, less is more. And I think that goes without saying, like in all phases of competition, not trying to be someone that you're not. We talk about that a lot when like breaking down and debunking myths of what it takes to become Miss Texas. And there's so many people that believe that there's a Miss Texas mold that everyone has to fit into. And it's so not the case. So, less is more, and not, exhausting yourself trying to be someone that you're not. And honestly, just like putting all your cards on the table, this is me, take it or leave it. And I think that also helps like with the mental game associated with it. If they don't pick me, it's not because I don't have the skills required to do this job. It's just that I wasn't the one that they wanted. That helped a ton. But yeah, just less is more. I taught a modeling workshop a couple weeks ago at the Miss Texas Spring Workshop. And so much of that workshop is talking about less is more. And like, you're trying too hard. You don't have to try too hard. Just be you. Just have a presence about yourself. So I think the secret in the sauce is less is more.
I really like that because I find the biggest, I guess, mistake, if I could say it that way, that girls have or make when they're competing is they put more effort in than what's required. They give way more than anyone asked for. And which they feel like they have to, right? I have to impress these judges. I have to do more than I do in practice. Who said that? Nobody said that.
No one said that.
Nobody said that.
Yeah.
Like, you just need, well, I don't think anybody said that. So you just need to enjoy yourself. Like, train well, definitely.
Yeah.
Put the effort in training. I mean, when we say less is more, that doesn't mean train less. It just means give less on the stage, right? And
Correct.
and in the interview room, if you trust yourself, you can be yourself.
For sure. And that's something and the one thing that I want to like point out is that was really tough for me also, like growing up as a studio dancer. I think dancers also have this issue. It's like everything is full out all the time, extra big hair, big makeup, like big personality, all the facial features. So it's like growing up as a studio dancer and then transitioning into the teen program, as a young girl, especially, like kind of toning it down, less Energizer Bunny, like less hyper. I think that like just toning it back, bringing it back, honing it in just a little bit, that was exactly what I needed to do. And same goes for Miss Texas. I was older, more mature, a smidge of life experience under my belt. As a mere college student, but less is more. I mean, just not feeling like I need to like walk super fast or talk super fast, try to get in every single possible word, try to like word vomit every known fact there is to know about me. Telling a story and doing that efficiently, quality information versus quantity information. That was, I think, paramount.
One of my favorite interactions that we had before Miss Texas, because we worked a lot on this interview and mental game and that kind of thing leading up to Miss Texas, the year you won, is you said, so I think I want to tell a joke when I close. And I'm like, you want to do what?
Yeah.
And you're like, I am just tired of everybody closes the same way. That's kind of how I felt like this conversation went. So everybody closes the same way. Do you think this is a good idea? And I'm like, yes. What's the joke? And so then you found a joke that would work. And it was just like, I just want to have a really fun way to exit the room. And I thought, how nice to just have not doesn't mean, ladies, everyone close with a joke. That's not what we're saying. what we're saying is, like, when you're in the interview room, be authentic to you.
Yeah.
Bring your ideas, your excitement, your personality into the room. No more, no less. Just be you.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've done a really good job of that.
Thank you. And yeah, I actually love that we did that together because, and yeah, just going back to not everyone needs to tell a joke. But for me, I felt like I did need to tell a joke because, at the time, my platform, now known as a CSI, Social Impact Initiative, was anti-bullying. And, the conversations that I had over and over and over again during mocks and during real interviews, the conversations, they got dark and heavy. We're not only talking about anti-bullying, but like, how does that maybe transfer later in life to domestic violence and domestic abuse? How does that lead to an interesting debate about power narratives and abuse of power? So we were talking about some really heavy topics during my mocks and during my interviews that I wanted to end it on a lighter note. So for me, I felt like it was almost necessary, strategic even, to tell a joke at the end, to offer a little balance to my interviews.
And I don't think anybody had really done it. It was, I hadn't really.
Well, yeah. And I of course loved the idea of doing something that was different than everyone else, but Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, and when you said, okay, this is what I think I want to do. And I was like, well, it's kind of genius. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do it then. And I'm a firm believer in, if you're feeling it, like, let's head that direction. Because
Yeah.
if you're feeling it and it seems, now that doesn't mean we always go with our feelings, but like for this particular thing, I felt like that made so much sense. But you knew exactly who you were. You knew, based on the experiences that you were having in your mocks, like, you knew, okay, we're going to have to lighten it. We don't have a choice. And you came up with a creative solution. We'll talk more about that in the Patreon channel. So thank you so much, Margana. What's a closing piece of advice that you would give to people on how they can maybe find that next step for themselves?
I mean, yeah, follow your intuition. I'm a big advocate for just following your gut instinct. It steered me the right direction 99% of the time. And maybe to overcome that 1% where it doesn't steer you the right direction, run it by trusted folks in your life. Becoming Miss Texas didn't happen without a team of individuals supporting me. So, just like what we were just talking about, I mean, I came to you with an idea that I had that felt good, and I wanted to trust my gut instinct and my intuition. But I wanted to also ensure that, like, the team that I was working with, that I trusted to help me become the Miss Texas that I ultimately became, also agreed that that was a smart choice.
And it was a smart choice.
Thank you.
It's good. You won interview too, if I'm not mistaken.
I did win interview.
So it's so great catching up with you, Margana. Like this episode if you do, share it with a friend, join their Patreon membership. I have a She Wins Patreon membership. We're going to do an episode for women, and then we're also going to do an episode for pageant participants, and Margana's going to share some of her secrets. So join us. Thank you, Margana.
Thanks, Heather.